Hey everyone, welcome back to Sleepless Survivors. Tonight we're doing something a little different, something darker. We're diving into an extreme survival simulation, one where you're not just fighting the elements or wildlife, you're being hunted by something that shouldn't exist, something that moves in the spaces between shadows and whispers your name when no one else is around. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video if you're enjoying the content, and subscribe if you want more late night survival stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. It's always fascinating to see who's out there in the darkness with us. Now get comfortable, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Because once we start, there's no turning back. You're about to enter a simulation where survival isn't guaranteed, where every decision matters, and where something is watching you from just beyond the light. Welcome to your nightmare. Let's begin. Hour 1. The awakening. You open your eyes, but something feels wrong immediately. The air is thick, oppressive, like breathing through wet cloth. Your head throbs with a dull, persistent ache that pulses behind your eyes. You try to move, but your body feels heavy, disconnected, as if you're operating a machine you don't quite know how to control yet. Where are you? The last thing you remember is driving home from work. It was late, around midnight. The highway was empty except for your headlights cutting through the darkness. You remember feeling tired, your eyelids growing heavy. And then, nothing. A gap in memory. A void. Now you're here, wherever here is. You force yourself to sit up, every muscle protesting. Your clothes are damp with sweat or dew. You can't tell which. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, shapes begin to emerge. Trees. You're in a forest, but not one you recognise. The trees are tall and skeletal, their branches reaching upward like grasping fingers. There's no moon, no stars, just an oppressive canopy of darkness overhead. The ground beneath you is soft, covered in a thick layer of moss and decaying leaves. The smell hits you next, a mixture of earth, rot, and something else. Something chemical and wrong, like burning plastic or spoiled meat left in the sun too long. You stand on shaky legs, your hand instinctively reaching for your phone. It's not there. Your pockets are empty. No phone, no wallet, no keys, nothing. You're wearing the same clothes you remember from before, jeans, a jacket, sneakers, but everything else is gone. Panic starts to creep in, cold fingers wrapping around your chest and squeezing. You take a deep breath, forcing yourself to think rationally. Panic kills. You know this. You've watched enough survival shows, read enough stories. The first rule of survival is to stay calm, assess your situation, and make a plan. So you assess. You're in a forest. Unknown location. No supplies, no communication, no idea how you got here. The temperature is cool but not freezing, probably somewhere in the 50s. Your clothes are adequate for now, but if you're here overnight, hypothermia becomes a real concern. You need 3 things immediately: shelter, water, and fire. But first, you need to understand where you are and if there's any immediate danger. You turn slowly, scanning your surroundings. The forest is dense, the trees packed close together. Visibility is limited to maybe 20 feet in any direction. Beyond that, everything dissolves into shadow. There's no path, no trail, no indication of which way to go. And then you hear it. A sound. Distant but distinct. A low rhythmic thumping like a heartbeat or footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Something big moving through the forest. You freeze, every sense suddenly hyper-alert. The sound grows louder, closer. Not quite footsteps, you realise, but something dragging. Something heavy being pulled across the forest floor, accompanied by a wet, slithering sound that makes your skin crawl. Your instinct screams at you to run, but you force yourself to remain still. Running blindly in the dark is a death sentence. You could trip, fall, break an ankle, or run straight into whatever is making that sound. The dragging sound passes to your left, maybe 30 feet away. You can't see anything, just shadows moving within shadows, but you sense it. A presence. Something massive and wrong moving through the darkness with deliberate, purposeful motion, and then it stops. Silence floods back in, heavy and suffocating. You hold your breath listening. Nothing. Just the pounding of your own heart in your ears. Minutes pass. 5, maybe 10. The thing, Whatever it was has moved on or stopped moving. You need to make a decision. Stay here and wait for daylight, assuming daylight comes in this place, or start moving and try to find shelter, water, or a way out. You choose movement. Staying still feels too vulnerable, too exposed. At least if you're moving, you're doing something. You're taking action. You pick a direction, away from where the sound came from, and start walking. Your steps are careful, deliberate, testing each footfall before committing your weight. The last thing you need is to turn an ankle or step on something that makes noise. The forest seems endless. Every direction looks the same, twisted trees, thick undergrowth, and that oppressive darkness that seems to swallow sound and light. You've been walking for what feels like 20 minutes when you notice something odd. Markings on the trees. You stop, moving closer to examine one. It's carved into the bark, a symbol you don't recognize. 3 intersecting lines forming a shape like a distorted triangle with a circle at its center. The carving is old, the edges weathered and filled with moss, but someone or something made this mark deliberately. You find another tree with the same symbol, then another. They seem to form a pattern, a trail of sorts, but leading where? And made by whom? You have a choice. Follow the symbols and see where they lead, or ignore them and forge your own path. Every survival instinct you have tells you that following unknown symbols in a dark forest is a terrible idea. This could be a trap, a way to lure lost travellers into danger, but another part of you, the desperate, terrified part, argues that these symbols might lead to safety, to other people, to a way out. You decide to follow them, carefully. The symbols lead you deeper into the forest, but after another 10 minutes of walking, you notice something encouraging. The ground is sloping downward. Water follows gravity. If there's a stream or river, it will be in the low ground. And you're right. You hear it before you see it, the gentle babbling of running water. Relief floods through you as you push through a final curtain of undergrowth and find yourself standing beside a small stream. The water is clear, moving swiftly over smooth stones. It's beautiful, almost surreal after the oppressive darkness of the forest. You kneel beside the stream, cupping your hands to drink, but something makes you pause. The water looks clean, but looks can be deceiving. Drinking contaminated water could give you giardia, dysentery, or worse. You could be dead in days, but you're already thirsty, your mouth dry and sticky. How long has it been since you drank anything? Hours? Longer? You make a calculated risk. You drink, but only a little, just enough to wet your mouth and throat. If you're going to get sick, better to get sick from a small amount than to guzzle contaminated water and guarantee a severe illness. The water is cold and sweet. It tastes clean, but again, that means nothing. Parasites and bacteria are invisible to the naked eye. As you're crouched beside the stream, you hear something that makes your blood run cold. A whisper. Your name. Spoken softly, almost tenderly, from somewhere behind you. You spin around, heart hammering, but there's nothing there, just trees and shadows. "Hello," you call out, your voice sounding small and pathetic in the vast darkness. No response, just the sound of the stream and your own ragged breathing. You're starting to question your sanity. Did you really hear your name? Or was it just the wind, your imagination, exhaustion playing tricks on your mind? But then you hear it again. Your name whispered from a different direction this time. To your right, deeper in the forest. This time you don't respond, because now you understand something that makes your stomach drop. Whatever is out here with you, it knows who you are. Hour 2. The Watcher. You move away from the stream, your brief moment of relief shattered by those whispered words. Every nerve in your body is screaming danger. You need shelter, and you need it now. Something defensible, something with a view of your surroundings. As you push deeper into the forest, you spot something promising. A rocky outcropping, maybe 15 feet high, forming a natural wall. At its base there's an overhang, a shallow cave barely deep enough to fit a person, but it's better than nothing. More importantly, it puts solid rock at your back and gives you a view of the forest in front of you. You scramble up to the overhang and squeeze inside. The space is tight, smelling of damp stone and earth, but it's shelter. You can't be approached from behind. Anything coming for you will have to come from the front where you can see it. You settle in, your back against cold stone, and try to calm your racing heart. You need to think. You need to figure out what's happening. The facts as you know them. You were driving home, you experienced some kind of blackout or missing time. You woke up in an unknown forest. Your belongings are gone. There are strange symbols carved on trees. Something large is moving through the forest, and something is calling your name. None of this makes sense through the lens of normal reality. You weren't in an accident, no airbag deployment, no broken glass, no injuries beyond the general soreness of sleeping on the ground. You weren't mugged, your clothes are intact, and there's no sign of a struggle. This wasn't random, this was deliberate. Someone or something brought you here. But why? And who? Or what? You're so lost in thought that you almost miss it. Movement in the tree line. Not the large dragging thing from before, this is different. Smaller, quicker. A figure emerges from between the trees and your heart leaps with desperate hope. Another person. Maybe they're lost too, maybe they can help, maybe. But as the figure moves closer, that hope withers and dies. It's humanoid, roughly the right size and shape, but something about the way it moves is fundamentally wrong. The proportions are off, the arms too long, the legs bending at angles that shouldn't be possible, and its movement is jerky, twitchy, like a puppet being controlled by someone who doesn't quite understand how human bodies work. The figure stops about 30 feet from your shelter, and then it raises its head, and you see, or rather, you don't see. Where a face should be, there's just darkness. Not shadow, not a mask, but an absence. A void where features should exist. The thing that looks like a person but isn't tilts, it's not faced toward you, and you have the overwhelming sensation that it's looking directly at you, seeing you with eyes it doesn't have. You press yourself back against the stone, making yourself as small as possible. Maybe if you don't move, don't make a sound, it takes a step closer. Your breath catches in your throat. Every instinct is screaming at you to run, but where would you go? You'd have to leave your shelter, expose yourself completely. At least here you have some protection. The figure takes another step, then another. Its movements are becoming more fluid now, more natural, as if it's learning. How to walk, how to be human. When it's 10 feet away it stops again, and then it speaks. Your name, in your voice. Not similar, not close. Exactly your voice. The precise tone, inflection, and cadence you use when you introduce yourself to someone new. "I know you're there," it says in your voice. "I've been looking for you." You don't respond. Can't respond. Your throat is closed up with terror. You don't need to be afraid, it continues, still using your voice. "I'm here to help you. Come out, let me see you." There's something wrong with the words themselves. The grammar is correct. The sentence is properly structured, but there's no emotion behind them. No warmth, no concern. It's like hearing a recording played back, words stripped of all human feeling. "Please," it says, "I need to show you something important, about why you're here." The why you're here catches your attention despite your terror. Does this thing actually know? Is it part of whatever brought you to this place? "What am I doing here?" you ask, your voice barely above a whisper. "Where is this?" The figure tilts its knot head again, considering. When it speaks, it's not in your voice anymore. It's in a voice you recognize, your mother's voice, dead now for 3 years. "You need to remember, sweetheart," it says in her voice, perfectly captured with that slight rasp she had from years of smoking. "Remember what you did, why you need to be here, why you deserve this." Tears spring to your eyes because it sounds so much like her, but you know it's not her. It's a trick, a manipulation. This thing is reaching into your memories, your grief, and using it against you. "You're not real," you say, louder now, anger cutting through fear. "You're not my mother, you're not anything, you're just a thing." The figure stands completely still for a long moment. Then its knot head swivels, rotating completely around in a circle. Once, twice, 3 times, impossible and nauseating to watch. When it stops, it speaks again in a different voice. Your own voice again, but different. Younger. The voice you had as a child before puberty changed it. "Tag," it says in your child voice. "You're it." And then it turns and runs, its body moving with that same jerky puppet-like motion, disappearing back into the trees with impossible speed. You sit in your shallow shelter, shaking, trying to process what just happened. That thing, That shadow creature, it can mimic voices. It's been listening to you, learning you, preparing to imitate you perfectly. But the last thing it said, tag, you're it. That's not just mimicry. That's a reference to something specific, a game you played as a child. How could it possibly know that? Unless it knows everything. Unless it's been watching you not just here, but before. Always. The thought is so terrifying, so violating that you nearly lose control. But you force yourself to breathe, to think. Panic kills. Always. You need to be smart. Whatever that thing is, it's playing with you, testing you, trying to draw you out. The fact that it ran away instead of attacking suggests it wants something more than just to kill you. It wants you to chase it, to follow, to play its game. You're not going to do that. You're going to stay in your shelter until daylight, assuming daylight comes. You're going to conserve your energy, stay alert, and wait. Sometimes the best survival strategy is doing nothing at all. But as the hours crawl by, staying still becomes its own form of torture. The darkness is absolute. You can't see your own hand in front of your face. Every sound, every rustle of leaves or crack of a branch could be the shadow creature returning. Could be something else. Could be nothing. Your mind starts playing tricks on you. You see shapes in the darkness that aren't there. You hear whispers that might be the wind or might be something else. Time loses meaning. Has it been 1 hour since the creature left, or 3? You try to stay awake, but exhaustion is creeping in. Your eyelids grow heavy. Your head nods forward, snapping back up as you force yourself to stay conscious. But it's a losing battle. Sleep deprivation is a killer in survival situations. It impairs judgment, slows reaction time, causes hallucinations. You need rest. But rest means vulnerability. You compromise. You'll let yourself doze, but lightly. Your body pressed against the cave wall, positioned so you'll wake if anything approaches. It's not ideal, but nothing about this situation is ideal. Your eyes close. Darkness takes you. And in your dreams, you remember. Hour 3. The memory. You're 7 years old, playing in the woods behind your house. Your mother told you not to go too far, but you're feeling brave today. Adventurous. You want to see how deep the woods go, what secrets they hold. The other kids from your neighbourhood are with you. Tommy, Sarah, Mike and Emily. 5 kids playing an endless game of tag, running through the trees, laughing, free. You're it. You count to 20, hands over your eyes, then turn to give chase. The others have scattered, but you can hear them, crashing through the undergrowth, giggling, trying to stay quiet but failing. You run after Sarah's voice, but she's fast, darting between trees. You lose sight of her and stop listening. The woods have gone quiet. Too quiet. "Guys," you call out. "Where are you?" No response. The playfulness has drained out of the moment. Something feels wrong. You walk deeper into the woods, calling their names. Tommy, Sarah, Mike, Emily. Nothing. And then you see it. A shape in the trees ahead. Tall. Wrong. Moving with a jerky, twitching motion. You remember being frozen with terror. Remember wanting to run, but your legs wouldn't work. Remember watching as the thing that wasn't human moved through the woods, hunting, searching. You don't remember what happened next. That's where the memory always ends, cutting off like a film reel snapping. But you remember the aftermath, being found by your parents hours later, alone and crying. The other kids were found too eventually, all of them safe, all of them claiming they'd just gotten lost, wandered in different directions. But none of you ever played in those woods again, and none of you ever talked about that day. You wake with a gasp. The dream. No, the memory. Still vivid and raw. Your heart is pounding. Sweat is cold on your skin despite the cool air. That memory. You'd buried it. Pushed it down so deep you'd almost convinced yourself it never happened. But it did happen. You did see something in those woods all those years ago. Something wrong. Something that shouldn't exist. And now you're here. Not a random victim. Not a coincidence. This is connected. Somehow, impossibly, this is all connected to that day 25 years ago. The realization brings a strange calm. At least now you have context. This isn't random. You're here for a reason. Brought here by something that's been waiting a long time, but knowing why doesn't help you survive. If anything, it makes the situation worse. Because if this thing has been watching you since childhood, patient enough to wait decades, then it's intelligent. purposeful, and it has plans for you. You need to move. Staying in one place isn't safety, it's just waiting to be found. You need to be proactive, to find some advantage, some way to fight back or escape. As you prepare to leave your shelter, dawn finally breaks, or what passes for dawn in this place. The absolute darkness lifts to a dim grey twilight, just enough light to see perhaps 50 feet in any direction. There's no sun, no clear direction to the light. It simply exists, sourceless and flat. You climb down from your rocky overhang and take stock of your surroundings in the new light. The forest looks different now, less ominous, but somehow more unreal. The trees are wrong somehow, too uniform in their strangeness, as if grown according to some alien blueprint. And the symbols you saw last night are everywhere, not just on a few trees but carved into dozens of them, all around you. The triangular shape with the circle, some fresh, some ancient, but all deliberately placed. You're in the heart of something, some kind of territory or domain. The stream is still babbling away, indifferent to your terror. You approach it again, this time to really look at it. The water is clear, running over stones that are too smooth, too perfect. And now that you can see better, you notice something odd. The stream flows uphill. Not a lot, not dramatically, but definitely uphill. Water that defies gravity. That's when you fully accept what some part of you has been trying to deny. This isn't your world. This isn't Earth, or anywhere that follows normal physical laws. You're somewhere else, somewhere other. A prison, a hunting ground, a hell designed specifically for you. The whisper of your name comes again, from multiple directions now. A chorus of voices, all saying it slightly differently, creating a dissonant echo that makes your skin crawl. You start walking, no longer following the symbols but moving perpendicular to them, trying to find the edge of whatever this place is. The whispers follow you, sometimes close, sometimes distant, never letting you forget that you're being watched, hunted. As you walk, you start finding things, small objects that don't belong in a forest. A child's toy car, rusted and ancient. A photograph, too faded to make out the faces. A single shoe, woman size 8, sitting upright on a flat stone as if placed there ceremonially. These aren't random. They're markers, trophies. Other people have been here, other victims. The question is, did any of them escape? You find your answer an hour later when you stumble upon the clearing. Hour 4, the clearing. The trees open up suddenly, revealing a circular clearing perhaps 100 feet across. And in the centre of that clearing is a structure. It's not quite a building, more like a sculpture or an art installation made by something that's seen buildings but doesn't understand their purpose. Walls that don't quite connect, a roof that seems to float without support, windows that are just dark holes opening into nothing. But the most disturbing part is what surrounds it. Bones. Human bones, arranged in patterns around the structure, not scattered or dumped but carefully placed. Skulls form a circle, femurs are laid out in radiating lines like sun rays, ribs are woven together into something like a fence. You've found where the other victims ended up. Your first instinct is to run, to get as far from this place as possible, but something makes you stop. Because if this is where the creature brings its victims, then maybe, just maybe, there's something here you can use. Information, tools, a way to fight back. You approach slowly, alert for any movement. The structure remains silent, seemingly empty. The bones are old, picked clean by weather and scavengers. Whatever happened to these people, it wasn't recent. You reach the edge of the bone circle and step over it, half expecting something to happen. Nothing does. You walk between the carefully arranged remains, trying not to think about the people they used to be, focusing instead on your objective. The structure's entrance is an opening in one wall, a doorway with no door. Inside, the geometry is all wrong. The space looks bigger on the inside than it should be, and the walls meet at angles that hurt your eyes to look at directly. But there are objects inside. Human objects, backpacks, camping gear, clothing. The accumulated possessions of everyone who's been brought here. You rifle through them quickly, searching for anything useful. A flashlight. You check it. Miraculously, it works. Weak beam, probably low batteries, but light is light. A knife, a good one, 6-inch blade, solid handle. You clip it to your belt, feeling marginally less helpless. A lighter, a bottle half full of water, a granola bar expired but sealed. You're gathering supplies when you hear footsteps. Not the dragging sound from before. These are human footsteps. Someone walking normally, deliberately into the clearing. You freeze, knife in hand, and peer out through the strange doorway. A person enters the clearing. An actual human person, not a shadow creature. A woman, maybe mid-30s, wearing hiking clothes torn and dirty. She looks exhausted, haunted, but alive. For a moment, hope surges. You're not alone. There's another survivor. But then she speaks, and you realise something is wrong. "You shouldn't have come here," she says, her voice flat, emotionless. "This is his place, his temple." She walks toward the structure with slow, measured steps. Her eyes are open, but there's nothing behind them. No consciousness, no person. She's a puppet. The shadow creature is wearing her like a costume. "He's been waiting for you," she says in that dead voice. "Since you were young, since you saw him and ran. He marked you that day. You belong to him." You back deeper into the structure, knife held in front of you. The woman keeps approaching, unhurried. "He wants you to understand," she continues. "This isn't punishment, this is transformation. All the others, they fought. They ran. They died screaming. But you're special. You saw him once and lived. That means you're chosen." "Chosen for what?" you manage to ask, your voice shaking. The woman stops at the threshold, her empty eyes fixed on you. "To become like us. To serve him. To bring others here. He's offering you a gift, survival. All you have to do is accept." "And if I don't?" She smiles, but it's not her smile, it's wrong, too wide, showing too many teeth. "Then you become part of the temple, like all the others. Your bones will join the circle. Your voice will join his chorus. Either way, you stay. Forever." The woman takes a step inside, and as she crosses the threshold, something happens. Her body convulses, limbs jerking like a marionette with tangled strings. The skin on her face begins to ripple, and for just a moment you see what's underneath. Shadow. Pure darkness. Nothing human at all. You bolt, running deeper into the impossible structure, knowing that there has to be a back way out, another opening. The geometry is wrong, which means normal rules don't apply. You could find an exit anywhere. Behind you, the woman puppet gives chase, but her movements are slowing, becoming more erratic. Whatever power is animating her is weakening inside the structure. Maybe the place itself is alive, feeding on the creature's energy. You burst out through an opening, no idea if it's the same one you entered through or a different one, and find yourself back in the forest. But not the same part of the forest. The trees here are even denser, even more wrong. You run anyway, crashing through undergrowth, branches whipping your face and arms. Behind you, something is coming. Not the puppet anymore, but the real thing, the shadow creature in its true form. You hear it moving through the trees, not running but flowing, like liquid darkness pouring between the trunks. It's not trying to catch you yet. It's herding you, driving you somewhere specific. And then you understand. This has all been planned. The shelter, the stream, the structure, even the puppet woman. All of it designed to push you in a specific direction, to bring you to wherever the creature wants you to be. You stop running and drop to the ground, rolling behind a fallen log. If you're being herded, the only way to break the pattern is to do something unexpected. To stop being prey and start being a threat. You grip the knife and wait, controlling your breathing, listening. The flowing, rushing sound of the creature grows louder, closer. It's not subtle anymore. It knows exactly where you are. And then it's there, emerging from between two trees. You finally see it clearly. It's tall, maybe 8 feet, but its height keeps changing, like it can't decide how big to be. Its body is humanoid, but made of shadow that constantly moves and shifts. No solid edges, no fixed form. Where a face should be, there's that void you saw before. But now you notice something else. Eyes. Dozens of them. Floating in the darkness of its not face, all different sizes and colours. Human eyes. The eyes of its victims, stolen and claimed. Some of those eyes are still alive, still moving, looking at you with desperate, pleading expressions. The creature stops 10 feet from your hiding place. It knows you're there. It's just waiting to see what you'll do. You make your decision. You burst up from behind the log and charge, knife extended, aiming for what you hope is the creature's centre mass. The blade passes through its body like smoke. Of course it does. You stumble, off balance, and the creature moves faster than thought. A pseudopod of shadow whips out, wrapping around your wrist. Where it touches your skin, agony explodes. Not heat or cold, but something worse. The sensation of being erased, unmade, dissolved at a molecular level. You scream and drop the knife. The creature releases you, and you fall to the ground, cradling your wrist. The skin is unmarked, but the pain lingers. A phantom agony that tells you what could happen if it wanted to really hurt you. Weapon, it says, its voice a chorus of stolen voices speaking in unison. Useless. You cannot harm me. It leans down, that void face with its stolen eyes inches from yours. Choose servant or sustenance. You look up at those desperate eyes floating in the darkness. All those people who came before you. All those who made the wrong choice or couldn't choose at all. And you realise something. The creature is powerful, yes. Ancient and terrible. But it's also limited. It needs permission. That's why it's offering a choice. That's why it's been playing this elaborate game instead of just taking you immediately. It can't claim you without your consent. Neither, you say through gritted teeth. I choose neither. The creature's form ripples, agitation spreading through its shadow body. Not an option. All who enter must choose. Then I guess I'm breaking your rules, you say, forcing yourself to stand despite the pain. You can't make me serve you, and you can't kill me without permission. So what now? We just stay here forever? You hunting me running? That's your grand plan. The silence stretches out. The creature's many eyes blink independently, creating a disturbing rippling effect. Finally it speaks. Interesting. You remember rules from before. That day in the woods when you were 7. You did see this thing, and somehow, even as a terrified child, you understood you had a choice, and you chose to run. I chose to live then, you say. I choose to live now, and I choose my own life, not whatever existence you're offering. The creature seems to consider this. Then it does something unexpected. It laughs. A sound like wind through broken glass, like screaming played backward, like every nightmare given voice. Then we play this long game, it says. You run, I chase, until you tire, until you break, until you beg me to end it. And with that, it flows backward into the trees and vanishes. You're alone again. But you've learned something vital. This thing has rules. And where there are rules, there are loopholes. You just need to survive long enough to find them. Hour 5. The rules. You take stock of your situation. You're injured, exhausted, and traumatized. But you're alive, and you're learning. The creature, this shadow thing, it's bound by some kind of rules. It needs consent to fully claim a victim. It can hurt you, frighten you, torment you, but it can't outright kill you or enslave you without your permission. That's your advantage. As long as you keep refusing, keep surviving, you're not just prey. You're a problem it can't easily solve. You return to the structure, carefully, watching for any sign of the creature or its puppets. The bone circle is undisturbed. The impossible building still stands in its geometrically wrong configuration. You search more carefully this time, looking not just for supplies but for information. Someone else must have figured this out. Someone else must have learned the rules and tried to leave a message. You find it carved into one of the interior walls, hidden behind a pile of abandoned backpacks. Words scratched into the not-quite-wood surface with something sharp. It feeds on fear and consent. Refuse both. The forest has boundaries. Find the edge. Symbols mark the prison. Break the circle. Below that, in different handwriting, tried, failed, forgive me. And below that, a third message, barely legible. The stream flows up because this place is inverted. Down is up, in is out. Think backwards. These are messages from previous victims. People who survived long, enough to understand the nature of this place, but none of them made it out. Still, they've given you a map of sorts. The symbols mark the boundaries of this prison. The forest has an edge. And the physics here are inverted, which means escape might lie in a direction you wouldn't normally think to look. You gather supplies, everything useful you can carry, the flashlight, knife, water bottle, protein bars that might or might not be edible, A rope, a tarp, matches. You fashion a crude backpack from one of the abandoned bags. As you work, you notice something odd about the bones forming the circle. They're not random. They're arranged in a pattern that matches the symbol carved on the trees. The 3-line triangle with a circle in the centre. You study the pattern, committing it to memory. Then you do something that feels simultaneously stupid and necessary. You rearrange some of the bones, breaking the pattern. Immediately you feel it. A shift in the air pressure, a sense of wrongness, and somewhere in the distance a sound like screaming, but not human screaming, something else expressing rage. You've pissed it off. Good. You leave the clearing quickly, moving deliberately in the direction opposite to where the scream came from. If the bones were part of a binding circle, breaking it might have weakened the creature's hold on this place, or it might have just made it angrier. Either way, you need to move. You walk for hours, following the backwards logic of the third message. When the ground slopes up, you go that direction. When paths look dangerous, you take them. When your instinct says go right, you go left. And slowly, gradually, you notice the forest changing. The trees are becoming less uniform, more natural. The symbols on the trunks are older, more weathered. You're moving toward the edge of the prison, toward wherever it meets whatever lies beyond. The whispers of your name have stopped. Either the creature has given up trying to lure you, or breaking the bone circle has limited its ability to track you. You hope for the latter, but prepare for the former. As the dim twilight that passes for day in this place begins to fade back into darkness, you make camp in a dense thicket of thorny bushes. It's uncomfortable, but the thorns will make noise if anything tries to approach. You eat half a protein bar, drink a few sips of water, and allow yourself to rest. But sleep won't come. Every time you close your eyes, you see those floating eyes in the creature's void face. All those victims trapped forever, aware but powerless. That can't be you. Won't be you. You think about the rules you've learned. The creature needs consent. It can manipulate, frighten and hurt, but it can't cross certain lines without permission. This place is a prison, bound by symbols. The physics are inverted, and somewhere there's an edge. But there's something else, something you're missing. Why you? Why were you marked as a child and brought back now decades later? What makes you special? The memory surfaces again, that day in the woods when you were 7. You and your friends playing tag, seeing the creature, running. But there's more to it. Something you've been blocking out. You didn't just run. You did something. Said something. It comes back in fragments. The creature approaching. Your friends frozen, unable to move. The thing reaching for Tommy, its shadow hand extending. And you, terrified but angry, shouting, "No! You can't have them! I don't let you!" Child logic, child words. But they worked. The creature recoiled. Your friends could move again. All of you ran, and the creature didn't follow, because you'd refused it, given it a command, withheld consent not just for yourself but for others. That's why you're special. You have some kind of authority over it, some ability to resist and even command it that others don't. Maybe it's something you were born with. Maybe it's something that was granted to you by some force that opposes the creature. You don't know, but the creature knows, and it's been waiting all this time for you to return to its domain, to claim you before you fully understand your power. You've been thinking about this all wrong. You're not trapped in here with it. It's trapped in here with you. The realization brings a fierce surge of hope. You're not just trying to escape. You're going to end this. Break the prison, free the trapped souls, and destroy the creature if you can. But first, you need to reach the edge. You need to see the boundaries of this place and understand how they work. You force yourself to rest, to conserve energy. Tomorrow you hunt the hunter. Hour 6. The edge of forever dawn comes, if it can be called that. The same sourceless grey light filtering through the trees. You emerge from your thorny shelter, stiff and sore but determined. You continue in the same direction, following the backwards logic. The symbols on the trees are now so weathered they're barely visible. The forest itself is thinning, the trees more widely spaced, and then you see it. The edge. It's not a wall or a barrier in the traditional sense, it's more like a transition, a place where reality becomes unstable. Beyond a certain point, the trees flicker between existing and not existing. The ground ripples like water. The air itself seems to tear and repair continuously. And standing at that flickering boundary is a line of figures. The puppets. Dozens of them. All the people the creature has claimed over the years standing in a silent line blocking your path. Their empty eyes watch you, their bodies swaying slightly as if moved by a wind that doesn't exist. You cannot pass, they say in unison, a chorus of dead voices. The boundary is forbidden to the living. Only his servants may cross. Only his sustenance may be consumed. You stop about 50 feet from the line, studying them. They don't advance, just stand and watch. Another rule, you realise, they can't attack you, unprovoked. They can only defend, only respond. What happens if I cross, you ask? You will be unmade, they chorus, scattered across the spaces between worlds, lost forever. But you remember the carved message? Think backwards. If they're telling you that crossing will destroy you, and this place operates on inverted logic, then maybe crossing is actually the way out. Or maybe you'll be destroyed. It's a hell of a gamble. You study the boundary more carefully. The flickering isn't random. It has a rhythm, a pattern. Moments when the barrier is thinner, more translucent. If you timed it right, moved fast, maybe you could pass through during one of those weak moments. But the puppets will try to stop you. You'll have to go through them first. You take a deep breath and run at the line of puppets. Not directly at them, but at an angle, trying to find a gap. They move to intercept, but their movements are stilted, delayed. You duck under grasping hands, dodge around bodies and break through the line. The boundary is right in front of you, 5 feet away. You can see through it, see glimpses of something on the other side. Trees that look normal, light that looks like actual sunlight. The real world, maybe, or another trap. You gather yourself and leap, timing your jump for when the boundary flickers thin, and you pass through. The sensation is indescribable, like being turned inside out, like every atom of your being is being examined and judged. For a moment you exist in multiple places simultaneously. You see the prison forest, the real world, and something else. A void, a space between spaces where the shadow creature lives, and in that void you see it fully. Not the humanoid shape it wears when hunting, but its true form. It's massive, incomprehensible, a thing of pure hunger and darkness that exists in the spaces between reality. The forest prison is just a tiny extension of it, a fishing lure dangling into the world to catch prey. But you also see something else, chains, bindings. The creature itself is imprisoned, trapped in the void by forces even greater than itself. It can only extend small parts of itself into the world, create limited hunting grounds. It's powerful but also pathetic, raging against its own captivity. And in that moment of seeing, it sees you too. Really sees you, and it recoils. Because you carry something it fears, a light, a spark, a tiny fragment of whatever power bound it in the first place. That's why you could resist as a child. That's why you're dangerous to it now. Then the moment passes and you're through the boundary. You hit solid ground, roll, come up in a defensive crouch. You're in a forest, a real forest. The trees are normal oaks and pines. The ground is covered in natural leaves and pine needles. In the distance you hear a highway, the sound of traffic. You're out. You escaped. But when you look back, the boundary is still there, still visible if you focus on it, and on the other side you can see the puppet people standing in their line, watching, waiting. The shadow creature hasn't given up. It can't cross the boundary to follow you, but its prison is still there, still catching victims, and you're the only person who escaped, the only person who knows the truth. You could walk away, rejoin your life, pretend this never happened, but you think about those eyes floating in the creature's void face, all those trapped souls, and you think about your childhood friends who might have been claimed that day if you hadn't refused the creature. You can't leave them, any of them. You need to find help, find people who know about these things, occultists, paranormal researchers, anyone who might understand what you've experienced and how to fight back. But first you need to mark this place, make sure you can find the boundary again. You take the knife and carve a symbol into the nearest tree. Not the creature's triangle and circle, but something else. A simple X, a mark of defiance. Then you head toward the sound of the highway, toward civilization, toward help. The shadow creature thought it was playing a long game, thought it had all the time in the world to break you. It didn't count on you learning the rules, understanding your power, escaping. Now you're going to teach it a new game, one where the prey becomes the hunter. Hour 7. Return to the world. The highway is Interstate 40, cutting through the Appalachian Mountains. You flag down a trucker who takes one look at your torn clothes and exhausted face, and agrees to give you a ride without asking too many questions. "You been hiking?" he asks as you climb into the cab. "Something like that," you say. He drops you at a truck stop in Asheville, North Carolina. You have no money, no ID, no phone, but you have knowledge, and you have purpose. The truck stop has a payphone, one of the few still in service. You call the police, report yourself as a missing person. Within hours, officers arrive, then your family, then questions. So many questions. What happened? Where have you been? What's with the torn clothes, the bruises, the haunted look in your eyes? You tell them a version of the truth. You were driving home and experienced lost time. You woke up in the forest. You've been trying to find your way out. No, you weren't attacked. No, you didn't see anyone else. Yes, you want to go to the hospital. The hospital runs tests. You're dehydrated, malnourished, covered in minor cuts and bruises, but otherwise healthy. They keep you overnight for observation, and a psychiatrist visits to assess your mental state. You tell her you're fine, just tired, just need rest. She doesn't believe you. You can see it in her eyes, but she can't hold you against your will. You're released the next morning into your family's care. Your sister drives you home, talking the whole way about how worried everyone was, how the police searched for you, how your car was found abandoned on the highway with the keys, still in the ignition. "It's like you just vanished," she says. "They thought maybe you'd had a stroke or a seizure, wandered off confused. The search dogs couldn't pick up your trail." "How long?" you ask. "How long was I gone?" She glances at you, concerned. 3 days. You've been missing for 3 days. 3 days in the real world. But in the shadow creature's prison, it felt like longer. Time moves differently there. Another rule you learned: when you get home, you shower, eat, sleep in your own bed. Your family hovers, worried, but you assure them you're okay. Just need time to process. But you're not processing. You're planning. You spend the next week researching. Everything you can find about shadow people, interdimensional entities, places where people vanish and sometimes return with stories they can't quite explain. The internet is full of theories, most of them garbage, but some containing kernels of truth. You find references to similar incidents. People who went hiking and returned speaking of forests that don't obey normal physics. People who were found days later with no memory of where they'd been but bearing marks that couldn't be explained. A few who spoke of shadow creatures that wore human faces and hunted for sport. Most of these people were dismissed as crazy, traumatized, or lying. But you know better. You know they're telling the truth. You find one account that stands out. A woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, an anthropologist who studied what she called liminal spaces, places where the barrier between our reality and others grows thin. She'd written several academic papers on the subject before vanishing during a research trip to the Olympic National Forest 5 years ago. Her papers are still available online, and you read them obsessively. She'd been documenting places around the world where people reported similar experiences. Forests, caves, abandoned buildings. Places that seemed to exist slightly outside normal reality. And she'd developed a theory. These weren't separate entities creating their own spaces. They were all extensions of the same thing. A vast, ancient intelligence that existed in the spaces between realities, reaching through wherever the barriers were weak. The shadow creature. It's everywhere. Not omnipresent, but present in enough places to have claimed thousands of victims over the centuries. Dr. Chen's last paper, published just before she vanished, outlined a hypothesis. The creature could be bound, even destroyed, if someone could find its true anchor point, the place where it first crossed into our reality. She'd believed that anchor point was somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, based on historical accounts of vanishings and encounters going back to indigenous legends. She'd gone looking for it, and disappeared. You know where she is now, in the prison forest. Probably one of the puppet people, or worse, one of the floating eyes. But her research is solid. If you can find the anchor point, you might be able to close the boundary permanently, trap the creature on its own side, free everyone it's claimed. It's insane, dangerous, probably suicidal. But you've seen those eyes, heard those stolen voices, you can't walk away. You start making preparations. Hour 8. Preparing for war. You can't do this alone. You need help, supplies, and knowledge. The next 2 weeks become a crash course in monster hunting. First, supplies. You max out your credit cards buying gear. A GoPro camera to document everything. A high-powered flashlight and backup batteries. Camping gear rated for extreme conditions. A hunting knife with a 7-inch blade. Road flares, thinking they might work on something made of shadow. Salt, iron nails, religious symbols from multiple faiths, covering your bases. You feel ridiculous buying some of this stuff. Like you're preparing for a movie, not real life. But you've seen what's out there. Better to be over-prepared than dead. Second, you look for allies. You post on paranormal forums under a throwaway account, describing what you experienced without revealing your identity. Most responses are trolls or crazies, but a few seem genuine. One person stands out. Username Shadowhunter91. They message you privately, and after several exchanges you agree to meet at a coffee shop in Asheville. Shadowhunter91 turns out to be Marcus, a former Marine in his early 30s. He's covered in tattoos, including several protective symbols you don't recognise. He orders a black coffee and sits across from you with the alert, watchful posture of someone who's seen combat. "I read your post," he says without preamble. "You met a walker." A walker? That's what we call them. Shadow walkers. Things that exist in the spaces between realities and hunt in our world. I've encountered 3 of them. Lost 2 friends to them. Been hunting the things ever since. You lean forward. "You believe me?" "I know you're telling the truth. The backwards physics, the stolen voices, the inverted time. It all matches. You're lucky to get out. Most people don't." "I want to go back." Marcus stops mid-sip, his eyes narrowing. "That's suicide." A researcher named Dr. Sarah Chen theorized these things all have an anchor point, a place where they first crossed over. If we can find it and close it, we can trap the creature on its side of reality. "And you think your walker's anchor point is in the Appalachians?" "Yes, based on her research and where I was taken. Will you help me?" Marcus is quiet for a long moment, studying you. "Why? You got out. You're free. Why risk going back?" You think about those eyes, those voices, all those people still trapped. "Because I have to," you say simply. Marcus nods slowly. "Okay, but we do this smart. We prepare, we train, and we don't go in unless we have a real plan, not just a suicide mission." Over the next week, Marcus teaches you things. How to move quietly in the forest, how to stay alert without exhausting yourself, how to fight efficiently if running isn't an option. He shows you his collection of occult research, books and papers gathered over years of hunting. "Walkers have rules," he explains. "They're powerful, but they're bound by certain laws. The biggest one is consent. They can't fully claim you without your permission, but they're masters of manipulation. They'll trick you, terrify you, or torture you until you give in." "I know. I refused it. That's how I got out." "Then you have natural resistance. That's rare. Most people don't last an hour before they break and accept whatever the walker offers, just to make the pain stop." He pulls out a leather journal, old and worn. This belonged to a hunter named Thomas Kane. He tracked walkers in the 1950s. According to his notes, they're not evil in the way we understand it. They're more like cosmic predators. Hunting and claiming prey is just what they do. But they can be hurt, even destroyed, if you know how. How? Marcus flips through the journal to a page marked with a red ribbon. Walkers exist partially in our reality, and partially in their own. The anchor point is where they're most fully present in both realities at once. If you can disrupt that anchor, sever their connection, they'll be pulled back entirely into their own space, and the barrier will seal. How do we disrupt it? Caney theorized it requires a blood sacrifice from someone the walker has marked but not claimed. Someone who carries what he called the resistance, a natural immunity to the walker's power. You feel your stomach drop. A sacrifice. As in someone has to die at the anchor point. Someone the walker wants but can't have. Their death freely given severs the connection. That's insane. Yeah, but according to Caney, it's the only way. He was planning to do it himself, but he disappeared before he could find the anchor point. His body was found 3 months later in a forest in Oregon. Cause of death listed as exposure, but his journal describes something else, says he was claimed, became a puppet. You sit back, processing this. Going back was always going to be dangerous, but sacrificing yourself, that's not just danger, it's martyrdom. There has to be another way, you say. Marcus closes the journal. Maybe. But we need to find the anchor point first. Then we can figure out options. You spend another week researching, cross-referencing Dr. Chen's work with Caney's journal and historical accounts of disappearances in the Appalachians. A pattern emerges. Incidents cluster around a specific area in the Cherokee National Forest, near a place locals call the Devil's Creek. It's remote, rarely travelled, with a reputation for strange occurrences. Hikers report feeling watched, compasses malfunction, electronics fail. Time seems to move strangely, hours passing in what feels like minutes, or minutes stretching into hours. It's also where 3 people have vanished without a trace in the last decade, including Dr. Sarah Chen. That's it, you tell Marcus. That's where the anchor point is. He studies the maps, the reports, the evidence you've compiled. Finally, he nods. Okay, we go in, we scout, we confirm the location. Then we decide next steps. Agreed? Agreed. You pack your gear, you write letters to your family just in case. You make peace with the possibility that you might not come back. And 3 days later, you and Marcus drive to the Cherokee National Forest, park at a remote trailhead, and hike toward Devil's Creek. Toward the anchor point. Toward the shadow creature's heart. Hour 9. Into the Devil's Creek. The trail to Devil's Creek is barely maintained, more of a game trail than anything meant for humans. The forest here feels different from the moment you enter it. The trees are too quiet. No birds sing, no squirrels rustle in the undergrowth. Just silence, heavy and waiting. Marcus notices it too. We're close, he says, his hand resting on the knife at his belt. The walker's influence extends outward from the anchor point. This whole area is probably a thin spot. You've been walking for 2 hours when you see the first symbol carved into a tree. The 3-line triangle with a circle in the centre, the mark of the prison. That's it, you say, pointing. That's the symbol that marked the boundaries of where I was held. Marcus examines it closely. It's old, decades, maybe longer, but someone's been maintaining it. Look. He traces the edges of the carving. This was refreshed recently, within the last year. The puppet people? Maybe. Or someone else. Someone who knows about the walker and wants to keep it contained, or fed. You continue following the symbols, finding them carved on trees every 50 feet or so, forming a path deeper into the forest. The silence intensifies. Even your footsteps seem muffled, absorbed by the oppressive atmosphere. The creek, when you reach it, is wrong. The water is clear but completely still, not flowing at all, just sitting in the stream bed like a pool reflecting the grey sky above. Water doesn't stop flowing unless something's holding it, Marcus says. This is unnatural. We're standing in the edge of the walker's domain. You kneel beside the creek and touch the water. It's ice cold and feels somehow heavier than normal water, more viscous. When you pull your hand back, the water clings to your fingers for a moment before dripping off slowly. We should follow the creek, you say. In the prison forest, the stream led to the structure. If this place mirrors that one, the anchor point might be at the creek's source. You walk alongside the motionless water for another hour. The forest grows denser, the trees more twisted, and then you start seeing them. The totems. Human bones arranged into structures, skulls stacked into cairns, femurs lashed together into crude crosses, ribs woven into fence-like barriers. It's like the clearing you found in the prison. Forest, but larger, more elaborate. This is a warning, Marcus says, or a trophy room, maybe both. You pass between the bone structures, fighting the urge to run. Some of the bones are old, weathered grey by time, but others are newer, still bearing traces of tissue and sinew. Recent victims. At the heart of the bone garden you find the source of the creek, a pool of perfectly still water about 20 feet across, so dark it looks like liquid shadow. And at the centre of the pool, rising from the water, is a structure. It's made of black stone that seems to absorb light, roughly circular, covered in carvings that hurt your eyes to look at directly. The same uncomfortable geometry you saw in the prison forest structure, but this is the original. The template, the anchor point. That's it, you whisper. That's where it crosses over. Marcus is staring at the structure, his face pale. I can feel it. The presence. It's massive, old, and it knows we're here. As if in response to his words, the water begins to move, not flowing, but rippling outward from the structure in perfect concentric circles. And then the whispers start. Your name. Marcus's name. Other names. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All the people the walker has claimed, their voices calling out from the structure. "We need to go," Marcus says urgently. "Now. We've confirmed the location, that's enough for today. But you can't move, because you can see them now. Figures emerging from between the trees, the puppet people, dozens of them, surrounding the bone garden, cutting off your escape, and walking among them, wearing the body of a woman in torn hiking gear, is Dr. Sarah Chen, or what's left of her. "You came back," she says in that flat, dead voice. "We knew you would. He marked you. You belong here." "We're leaving," Marcus says, pulling his knife. "Don't try to stop us." The puppets don't move, but Dr. Chen smiles that too wide smile. "You can't leave. Not now. You've seen the heart of his domain. You carry that knowledge. He can't allow you to take it back to the world. You feel it then. The boundary closing. The thin spot you crossed to get here thickening, solidifying. The walker is sealing its domain, trapping you inside. "No," you say firmly. "You don't get to keep us. I refused you before, and I refuse you now. We're leaving." Dr. Chen tilts her head, and for a moment you see something flicker in her eyes. A spark of the person she used to be, fighting against the puppet strings. "Run," she says, her voice different, strained, like she's fighting for control. The northern boundary, less stable, while he's focused on... Her body convulses, the walker reasserting control. She screams, a sound of pure agony, as her consciousness is crushed back down. But she's given you a chance. "North," you shout to Marcus, and run. The puppets lunge, but their movements are still stilted, delayed. You and Marcus crash through the bone garden, knocking over skull cairns, breaking the carefully arranged patterns. Behind you, the walker roars, that same inhuman sound you heard when you broke the bone circle before. It's furious, its carefully constructed trap falling apart. You run through the forest, branches whipping your face, roots trying to trip you. The boundary is ahead, you can see it flickering. Marcus is right behind you, and behind him, the puppets give chase, moving faster now, the walker pouring more energy into them. You hit the boundary at full speed and push through. The sensation is just as horrible as before, being turned inside out, existing in multiple places. But this time Marcus is with you, and you grab his hand, anchor him, pull him through. You both tumble out into the normal forest, rolling down a slope, coming to rest in a tangle of limbs and backpacks. For a moment you just lie there, breathing hard. You're out. You're both out. But when you look back at the boundary, you see them. All the puppets standing in a line watching, and among them Dr. Chen, her hand raised in a gesture that could be a wave or a farewell. She saved you. Whatever fragment of her consciousness survived, she used it to give you a chance. You won't waste it. Hour 10. The plan. You and Marcus make camp a mile from the boundary, far enough to feel relatively safe but close enough to keep watch. Neither of you speaks much at first, both processing what you saw. Finally Marcus breaks the silence. "That was the anchor point, no question." "Yeah." "Which means we have to decide. Do we report it, try to get authorities to shut down the area, or do we handle it ourselves?" "You've been thinking about this. If we report it, what happens? They send rangers or police to investigate. Those people will vanish or be claimed. We'd just be feeding it. So we handle it ourselves. With a blood sacrifice." You say it flatly, stating the reality you've been avoiding. Someone the walker marked but didn't claim has to die at the anchor point. Marcus meets your eyes. "That's you. You're the only person we know of who was marked and escaped. Twice now. I know. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm choosing. You think about Dr. Chen, fighting for just a moment of control to save you. About all those eyes in the walker's void face. About your friends from childhood who might have been claimed if you hadn't refused the creature. There are other options, Marcus argues. We can try to destroy the physical structure, use explosives, burn it, something. You think that will work? It's not really made of stone, it's just a manifestation. Destroying the physical form won't sever the connection. Then we find another person who's been marked. Someone else who can make the sacrifice. And how long will that take? How many more people will vanish while we search? How many more will be claimed? Marcus has no answer to that. You pull out your phone, checking that you're far enough from the boundary to get service. You do, barely. You start a video recording. My name is your name, you say to the camera. If you're watching this, I'm probably dead. But that's okay, because I chose this. 3 weeks ago, I was taken by something I'm calling a shadow walker, an entity that exists between realities and hunts in our world. I escaped, but others didn't. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people over the years have been claimed by this thing. You explain everything. Your experience in the prison forest, Dr. Chen's research, the anchor point at Devil's Creek, the rules you've learned, the plan to sever the walker's connection to our reality. I'm going back to the anchor point tomorrow. I'm going to end this. If I don't return, Marcus has the coordinates. He'll make sure the area is monitored, make sure no one else is taken. This video is proof of what's out there, and proof that we can fight back. You end the recording and upload it to a private server, then send the access link to your family, to journalists, to paranormal researchers. If you don't come back to delete it within 48 hours, it will automatically go public. Marcus watches you work. You're really doing this? Yes. Then I'm going with you, all the way. Marcus. No arguments. You'll need someone to document what happens, to make sure the sacrifice works, and to get the word out if it doesn't. He pulls out his own phone. I'll be recording everything. If you're doing this, the world is going to know why. You want to argue, to tell him it's too dangerous, that he should stay safe, but you're also relieved. Doing this alone would be terrifying. Having someone with you, even just as a witness, makes it bearable. You spend the rest of the day preparing. You write more letters. You meditate, trying to find peace with what's coming. You check your gear obsessively, even though there's not much that will help where you're going. As night falls, Marcus builds a fire. You sit beside it, watching the flames, thinking about transformation, about how fire turns one thing into another, solid into light and heat and ash. Maybe that's what death is. Not an ending, but a transformation. Your consciousness, your energy, burning away the flesh and becoming something else. Something that can fight back against creatures that exist in shadow. Or maybe death is just death, and you're about to sacrifice yourself for nothing. But you don't think so. You've felt the power in yourself, the resistance that the walker fears. That means something. That has to mean something. Tell me about them, Marcus says quietly. The people you're doing this for. So you do. You talk about your childhood friends, about that day in the woods when you first saw the walker. You talk about Dr. Chen, a scientist who went looking for truth and found horror instead. You talk about all those floating eyes, all those stolen voices, all those lives reduced to trophies in a monster's collection. They deserve better, you say. They deserve to be free. Even if it's just their souls, their consciousness released from that thing's prison, they deserve that. They'll remember you, Marcus says. Everyone you're saving, they'll know what you did. You smile, though it's sad. I don't need them to remember me. I just need them to be free. You sleep fitfully that night, dreaming of shadow and light, of boundaries and transformations. In your dreams, the walker speaks to you. You cannot win, it says in a voice that's yours and everyone's and no one's. I am eternal. I am everywhere. I am the space between all things. Maybe, you reply in the dream, but I'm the person who says no, and that's enough. You wake at dawn, if it can be called dawn in this grey half-light that passes for day near the boundary. Marcus is already up, filming the forest, documenting everything. Ready? He asks. You shoulder your pack, check your knife, take a deep breath. Ready. Together you walk back toward the boundary, back toward the anchor point, back toward the walker's heart. This time, you're not running from it. This time, you're going to end it. Hour 11. The sacrifice. Crossing the boundary is easier the third time, like your body is learning the transition, adapting to the sensation of existing in multiple places at once. You and Marcus emerge on the other side in the walker's domain, and nothing immediately attacks. The puppet people are there, of course, standing among the bone structures watching, but they don't move to intercept you. They just watch with their empty eyes as you walk past them toward the pool and the anchor stone. It's waiting, Marcus whispers. It knows why you're here. The pool is darker than before, the water thick and viscous like oil. The anchor stone rises from its centre, those painful carvings glowing faintly with a sickly greenish light. And standing on the stone is the walker itself, in its true form. 8 feet tall, made of shifting shadow, dozens of stolen eyes floating in its void face. But there's something different about it now. It's more solid, more present. It's pulled more of itself into this reality, anchoring fully in our world to stop you. You return, it says in its chorus of voices, bringing defiance again. I'm here to end this, you say, surprised by how steady your voice sounds. I'm here to sever your connection to our world, to free everyone you've claimed. Impossible. The anchor cannot be broken. It has stood for centuries. It will stand for centuries more. Thomas Kane figured out how to break it, you say, walking closer to the pool's edge. A blood sacrifice. Someone you marked but couldn't claim. Someone with the resistance. That's me. The walker's form ripples, agitation spreading through its shadow body. If you die here, you become mine. Another voice, another I. You do not escape through death. Maybe, but Kaney's research says otherwise. He says a willing sacrifice, a death freely chosen in defiance of you, severs the anchor, pulls you back entirely into your own reality and seals the boundary. Kaney was wrong. Kaney is mine now. One of the floating eyes in the walker's face, a blue eye that might once have belonged to a man in his 50s, blinks rapidly. Morse code? A message? You can't tell, but you've made your decision. You pull out your knife and step toward the pool. Marcus has his phone out, recording everything. For the record, he says, his voice shaking but clear, this is being done willingly. No coercion, no manipulation, a free choice made in sound mind. The walker's form expands, growing larger, trying to intimidate. You cannot win. I am ancient. I am forever. You're a parasite, you say, and every parasite can be killed. You step into the pool. The water is freezing, burning cold, but you push forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. The water rises to your knees, your waist, your chest. It's trying to pull you down, to drown you before you can reach the stone. Behind you, the puppet people are stirring, moving forward, but slowly, like they're fighting their own strings. Some part of them, some buried consciousness, is resisting the walker's control. They don't want this to happen, but they don't want to stop you either. You reach the anchor stone and pull yourself up onto it. The carvings burn where your hands touch them, but you ignore the pain. You're standing now, face to face with the walker. Up close, you can see all the eyes clearly. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Every person it's claimed over centuries. And in their depths, you see awareness. They're still in there, still conscious, still suffering. I'm sorry I can't save you the way you were, you whisper to them. But I can free you. I can end this. The walker reaches for you with a pseudopod of shadow but hesitates. It can't just kill you. It needs your consent. That's the rule. I refuse you, you say clearly. I've always refused you. I refused you as a child. I refused you in your prison. I refuse you now and forever. You will never claim me. You will never have my consent. You raise the knife to your throat. The walker screams, that sound like wind through broken glass, like all the nightmares of humanity given voice. Its form thrashes, desperately trying to find a way to stop you without breaking its own rules. And that's when you understand the final truth. The walker isn't bound by external forces. It's bound by its own nature. It's a creature of rules and permissions, of thresholds and invitations. That's how it exists in our reality at all, and that means when you deny it absolutely, in the moment of your death, you become poison to it. This is my choice, you say. My death, my defiance. You don't get to claim it. You draw the blade across your throat. Pain. Immediate and overwhelming. Blood. Hot and pulsing, running down your chest. You collapse onto the stone, your hands trying instinctively to stop the bleeding, but you force them away. This has to happen. You have to see it through. The world is going grey at the edges. Your heart is hammering, trying to pump blood that's spilling out onto the ancient carvings. The symbols are drinking it in, glowing brighter, changing from sickly green to brilliant red. The walker is screaming, its form destabilizing. Cracks appear in its shadowy body, light shining through. Not light from our world, but from somewhere else, somewhere beyond. No! 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 It roars in 1,000 voices. The anchor stone is shaking. The carvings are breaking, crumbling. Your blood is acting like acid on them. dissolving the ancient bindings that hold the walker to our reality. Through failing vision, you see the puppet people. They're falling to their knees, their bodies convulsing, and then, one by one, they go still. Not dead. Released. Their bodies empty now, the walker's control severed, and the eyes. The thousands of stolen eyes in the walker's void face. They're dissolving, turning into points of light that rise up and away, finally free. You see Dr. Chen's eyes among them, looking at you with gratitude and peace before they ascend. The walker is being pulled backward, sucked into a tear in reality that's opening behind it. It's fighting, grasping at the edges of our world, trying to maintain its hold. But the anchor is broken. You've destroyed its connection. Marcus is still filming, tears streaming down his face but keeping the camera steady, documenting everything, making sure your sacrifice won't be forgotten or dismissed. The walker is almost gone now, pulled back into its void when it speaks one last time. Not in anger, but in something that might be respect. You won, it says simply. Then it's gone. The tear seals. The boundary collapses. The pool of dark water becomes a normal pool reflecting the sky. The anchor stone crumbles to dust. You're lying in the remnants of that dust, your blood soaking into the earth. Your vision is almost gone. Your heart is slowing, but you can feel it. The forest is changing. The oppressive weight is lifting. The silence is breaking as birds begin to sing again. You did it. You freed them all. Marcus is beside you now, holding your hand, telling you something, but you can't hear him anymore. The world is fading. And then, in that last moment before darkness takes you, you see something. A figure made of light, not shadow. It's reaching for you, offering a hand. You recognize the gesture. It's the same one Dr. Chen made when she saved you. A hand extended in rescue. You take it and transform. Hour 12. Aftermath. The forest rangers found Marcus 2 hours later, still sitting beside your body, his phone's battery dead from recording. He was in shock, barely responsive, but he managed to tell them where he'd uploaded the video. Your body was recovered. The official cause of death was listed as suicide, which in the technical sense was accurate. But the video told the full story. It showed everything. The walker, the anchor point, your willing sacrifice. The moment the creature was pulled back and sealed away. The video went viral within 24 hours, millions of views, thousands of shares. Debates raged about whether it was real or an elaborate hoax. Experts analysed the footage. CGI specialists swore it couldn't be faked. Skeptics pointed out impossible elements and declared it fiction. But the people who mattered, the people who'd lost loved ones to unexplained disappearances in forests around the world, they believed. Because suddenly, people were being found. Hikers who'd vanished years ago stumbled out of forests across the country, confused but alive. They had no memory of where they'd been, just gaps in time and a sense of having been trapped somewhere grey and endless. The puppet people, freed from the walker's control, their bodies returned to life but their memories gone. They were alive, but the people they'd been were gone, overwritten by years or decades of imprisonment. Families were reunited, cases were closed, and in the paranormal community, your name became legendary. The person who proved the impossible existed and died to destroy it. Marcus kept his promise. He monitored the Devil's Creek area, ensuring the boundary remained sealed. He continued hunting other walkers, other entities, armed now with proof that they could be defeated. He never stopped telling your story. The Cherokee National Forest closed the Devil's Creek area permanently, citing dangerous terrain and unstable ground. A plaque was placed at the trailhead. In memory of your name, you gave everything to protect others. Some places are doorways, some people are keys, some sacrifices echo forever. Your family struggled with what happened. Proud of your courage but devastated by the loss. Your sister became an advocate for missing persons, using your story to bring attention to the thousands who vanish each year into unexplained circumstances. The video remained online, a testament and a warning. When people started reporting encounters with shadow creatures, when boundaries began to thin again in other places, researchers turned to your footage as a guide. You'd shown that these things were real, that they could be fought, that they could be beaten. But the most interesting development came 3 months after your death. A package arrived at Marcus's apartment. No return address. Inside was a journal, old and worn, filled with cramped handwriting. The last entry was dated the day before your sacrifice. It was from Thomas Kane. "If you're reading this," it said, "then someone finally completed the work. Someone made the sacrifice I couldn't. The walker that claimed me is gone now. I felt it leave, felt the bindings release. I'm free to write this final entry before I fade." The walker was wrong about one thing. Death in defiance doesn't claim you. It transforms you. The sacrifice doesn't end your existence. It elevates it. You become something new, a guardian, a light that stands against the darkness. Whoever made the sacrifice, wherever they are now, they're not gone. They're watching, protecting, making sure the boundary stays sealed and warning others away from thin places. They've become what the walkers fear most, a human soul that chose defiance over survival and gained power from that choice. Look for the signs. Hikers who feel a sudden urge to leave dangerous areas. Children who have nightmares about forests but wake feeling protected. Boundaries that should be thin but remain mysteriously strong. That's them. That's the Guardian, working from the other side. Tell them thank you. Tell them they saved not just our world, but countless others. Tell them they're remembered. And tell them they're not alone anymore. The journal ended there. Marcus published excerpts online, and more stories began to surface. People who'd been drawn to thin places, dangerous zones where reality wavered, reported feeling a presence. Not threatening, protective. A light that pushed back against shadow. Some claimed to have seen a figure in the forest, indistinct but somehow familiar, watching over them, guiding them away from danger. Your family took comfort in these stories. The idea that you weren't simply gone but transformed, that your sacrifice hadn't ended your existence but changed it into something greater. Scientists remained skeptical. The footage remained controversial, but the disappearances at Devil's Creek stopped completely, and that was something no one could explain away. Epilogue: The Guardian. In the spaces between realities, in the thin places where worlds touch, you stand watch. You're not what you were, not human anymore, but not a walker either. You're something new, something born from sacrifice and defiance and absolute choice. You can see the boundaries now, all of them, everywhere on Earth where reality wears thin. Places where the walkers push through, trying to establish new hunting grounds. Places where humans wander too close to dangers they can't understand. And you guard those places. When hikers approach thin spots, you whisper warnings in their minds. Turn back. Dangerous. Wrong path. Most listen, their subconscious recognizing truth even when their conscious minds don't understand. When walkers try to push through new boundaries, you're there to push back. You can't destroy them, not in their own realm, but you can make it costly for them to hunt. Can make them think twice before claiming new territory. You're not alone. Other guardians exist, others who made similar sacrifices in other places, other times. You can sense them, scattered across the world, each protecting their own territories. Thomas Kane is among them, his journal entry a final act before his humanity faded and his new existence began. You communicate without words, sharing knowledge, coordinating defences. Together you form a network, a web of light against the darkness. Sometimes you see the living world. Marcus, growing older but still hunting, still protecting. Your family, healing slowly, finding ways to honour your memory. Strangers who visit your memorial, bringing flowers, telling you their stories of loved ones who came home because of what you did. You want to tell them you're still here, still fighting, still protecting. But the boundary between guardian and human is absolute. You can influence, suggest, protect, but you can't speak, can't appear fully, can't return, and you find you're okay with that, because every day you save people who will never know your name. Every night you stand against things that would consume them, and in those quiet moments between action, you remember what it was to be human, to be afraid, to choose courage anyway. You remember standing in a forest prison surrounded by shadow and saying no. You remember the feeling of the knife, the pain, the fear, and the absolute certainty that you were doing the right thing. You remember Marcus holding your hand as the light took you, and you remember transforming, not ending, transforming. The walkers call you Defiance, the other guardians call you Lightbringer. but you think of yourself by your original name, the one you carried in life, because you're still you, just more. And as you stand watch over Devil's Creek, ensuring the boundary you sealed with your blood stays sealed, you feel something you haven't felt since your death. Peace. You made the right choice. You saved thousands, and you'll keep saving more for as long as the boundaries need guarding. Forever, if that's what it takes. Because you're not trapped here. You chose this. And that makes all the difference. This has been a Sleepless Survivor's extreme survival simulation. Remember, the boundaries between reality and nightmare are thinner than you think. But also remember that defiance, courage, and sacrifice can transform horror into hope. Stay vigilant. Stay brave. And if you ever find yourself in a forest that feels too quiet, where the trees are too uniform and symbols are carved in the bark, turn back, unless you're ready to say no, and mean it. Until next time, survivors, sleep well, or don't. We'll be here either way, keeping watch, in the spaces between, forever.